All right, so take three. All of my dogs have been in and out of here. So I'm talking about how to clear your space, either using a crystal or using sage. And really just quickly, the things you also want to have. When I use sage, I also use this white copal. It's a resin. This is actually the label from it, white copal. All right, so when I'm using a crystal or when I'm using sage, first and foremost, I will clear myself. I'll use my intention to clear my chakras, my energetic systems, and then that's when I'm ready to start using my crystal. So with all crystals, just like as an aside, you want to make sure that your crystals are clear and vibrant before you start working with them. So if you don't know how to do that, you can always place them outside under moonlight. I would always recommend putting it in a dish with water and add sea salt. Crystals really love that, and do that for a couple days until there's like a real sparkle to the crystal. So if I'm using a crystal or if I'm using sage, what I'm using is my intention. Sorry, I have lots of dogs. I use my intention. So it's almost like, so here we're in my kitchen. So I'm almost like it's like my intention is that I'm kind of like washing the walls of anything that doesn't support the space. Up and down, getting all of the corners on the floor, the ceiling. And I kind of do that to every single wall, the corners, and that's kind of the motion that I do when I'm clearing using the crystal. It's almost like in my mind, I kind of feel like it's almost like spraying or projecting this crystalline light or channeled light. So clearing with the highest healing vibration, and that's how I do it with my crystal. So I'm also almost like surrounding it with like a bubble and bring it to the next vibration. And then I also use one of my windows and almost like targeting anything that doesn't support out the window. So you may want to start off doing it slowly if you're not used to it. I can sort of sit and just sort of bring in the energy without having to like really wave around too much, to hold the container, bring it to a next vibration, and clear anything it doesn't support and wring it out. So when you're using sage, it's kind of the same thing. So lighters are great, but I think the thing that I like the most, the thing I like the most is, that's why I'm in the kitchen, is just setting it up with my burner on my stove. So let's see if I can show you. So it burns so fast. That's all you need, just like a little bit just to get it started, just so it's smoking. And I'll put the fan on just in case. All right, turn that off. So it burns just a little bit. Sometimes I have a little dish with me. Traditionally, you would use like a seashell. So first thing I do with my sage, and I'm very pregnant at the moment, I would just go up and down me. So I'm the first one that's getting cleared, and then I do the same thing around my space. So all the corners, up and down, the floor, the walls. And I actually tend to use sound when I'm clearing too, so it's called toning. So sometimes I'll, so it's like channeling the sound of what the room needs to be cleared. If you're not ready for that, you're not ready for it, totally fine. So once I do that in this room, I will go room to room. I will do the whole house, and I typically will do the mirrors as well, as they're reflecting back people's energy. So I'm just gonna sit that right here. So with the white copal, typically what you'd want to have is like a little piece of charcoal that's already burning. Let me turn this off. Like a little piece of charcoal that's already burning, so it's like red hot, and then you put the copal on top of it. So think of it as this way. So you don't have to do it. You can just use sage alone, and like that's great. The sage, it's like you're clearing the space, and then the copal is almost like a gift or like an offering that you give, as giving something into the space to like I don't know how else to describe it. It's like a gift, like an offering. So it's like a sweeter smell. Obviously the sage is a little bit more like pungent, and there might be people who love it, and there's people who hate it. I particularly really like it, but if you don't, you know, sorry. The other thing I like to do is have windows open. So this is like the perfect day. I have some windows open in my house. So again, just like using a crystal, you're clearing the things that don't work for you, don't serve you, don't support you. And so allowing it to just be lifted and released out the windows. And so you might be in certain rooms where the sage starts to burn like crazy and really gets smoky and like thick smoke coming out, versus some rooms where like I was lighting this and it wasn't really that smoky. And it goes out pretty fast. So like it's pretty much out. There's still some embers. Once you get down to like the thicker part, if you're really like working, it might smoke some more. Different types of sage. This is a very different kind of sage. This was a gift somebody gave me, but it's a different type of sage. Usually the sage